So, if you've been living underneath a rock, then you may have missed the news that we are getting another free DLC, Lost Island. But that's not really why I'm here. I'll make sure to cover more of that when it is released. I am here to have my opinion on what I think should be added as the next dinosaur to Ark. Okay guys, so let's look at the first of my 3 dinos that I would like to see introduced into Ark. Though with only one coming from the community vote, you will all have to jump on and vote for the dino that you want to see. So these are not in any order, and I'm not going to cover every single little nitty-gritty detail, as I have provided the links down below, so if you do wish to go check them out yourself, then go for it. I do apologise if I do murder the names for some of these dinos, some are just a bit absurd and weird. The first dino that I want to bring attention to is the Shantungosaurus. So, or I guess you can commonly call it a shant. In the wild, the shant is generally docile and not a dino that others will generally mess with because it's such a large herbivore. This is because it can hold its own against attackers and also hold its own ground competing against other sort of larger carnivores like the Rex and Spino. While taming the shant will not be an easy process, the survivor who is able to tame this dino will reap the benefits, and having one of these dinos is going to be amazing for your arsenal. They are a great larger dino to fend off against the carnivores. Also, due to its massive hind legs, it's able to carry a large amount of resources across the map at a reasonably faster pace compared to some of the other land dinos. I also like that once tamed and you decide to tame another dino, the shant acts as a deterrent for other dinos, which helps protect the taming effectiveness that we all greatly love. So, second dino is the Thalassolian. Basically, it's a big super slow seal on land, though once it is in the water, there are not many that can compete with its speed. Its speed is impressive, and even if it seems to become stronger and more aggressive, especially while feeding on schools of fish, and I'll touch on that soon. I don't recommend approaching these creatures during a feeding frenzy. You'll, I guess, regret it, because even megalodons don't dare interrupt a group of feeding Thalassolians. I'm not a fan of this name. I think we can improve on it or come up with our own little, nickname for it. But on land, they're basically a little useless. They are rarely aggressive, only they will become hostile if you do get a little bit too close to them. Though once tamed, they are an excellent swimming dino to have in your arsenal, team, whatever you wish to call it, as well as being able to travel on land, although like most seals, their land movement is not that crash hot. They have an insulation ability, so you have immunity from those harsh temperature conditions. They are exceptional at fishing, with getting more prime fish meat. When in the water, they would get an increased damage and speed buff compared to being out of water. Similar to the Argentavis, the sea lion would get a bigger buff called a feeding frenzy when it feeds on fish, which would help it heal the seal, as well as I think it'd be cool if it gets an improved sort of damage buff on top of that. Also think that the seal would be pretty cool if it has organic polymer collection, like when it goes hunting for penguins, because that's sort of on theme with sea lions. I think that'd be pretty cool, as well as a reduced carry weight for that polymer too. And lastly, probably one of my favourite, and not just because it's beer, but it's also a panda, and who doesn't love pandas? The great Agriotos beatrix, basically just a panda bear. Look, just call it a panda. It's simple, it's easy. So, found in the bamboo forest, you'll be probably seeing this creature pop up more in the jungle and red forest regions. If an intruder enters its territory, it will instantly become enraged and will go on the offensive. So this is created by GG Fizz, also provided a type of dossier note. Mei Yin studied this creature for some time, but found it difficult to tame an adult and focused on taming the offspring with great success. She found out that the panda bear was a formidable force in battle. So once tamed, if you want to head over and check out more content relating to this than what I'm covering here, then head over to GG Fizz's YouTube channel. But look, once you have this tamed, then the panda is more immune to torpor effects, It has a deep sleep ability, so if it sleeps for a duration of time, it has a resistance buff for abilities, and it's called well rested. So this well rested buff will increase the panda's health regeneration, damage, and speed for a duration of time. The panda also has a small percentage chance to get vegetables and vegetation when gathering. Look, it also has this sort of ability that they're focusing more on being a tank. So the panda is going to be a very tanky kind of animal, and I think that's going to be pretty cool because you can also use it for potentially soaking. It might be a new kind of a soaking dinosaur for turrets and that sort of form of PvP. If the panda takes damage, about 80% of its health, and it will instantly go into a hibernation state, and it'll be immune from all damage for about 10 to 30 seconds. It can only be woken up once its health has been restored to above 30%, which is what they're sort of describing, and it'll lose its hibernation buff for the next 60 minutes. So there's this cool sort of hibernation thing that they're sort of focusing on, whether or not that can be used as sort of like a blocker. So you instantly put this blocking thing in a cave entrance, and it's going to be blocking this, rat hole cave entrance for a small duration of time if it's not going to take damage. And yeah, during sort of a PvP sort of look, a player can actually come up and feed the bear some beer, and whilst feeding an enemy's panda beer, it will stay in a sleeping state for longer. So the more beer you feed this panda, the longer it stays in the sleeping state, which I feel like it's a sort of a new mechanic that they want to kind of introduce, and something different. But yeah, something that's similar to the dire bear and polar bear, but something also completely different, and brings a new purpose to having beer in the game. Purely, we've only really got one real purpose for beer now bringing this dino in, we have multiple purposes for it. So yeah, look, this is sort of my first real little opinion review thing on this channel, and straight off the top, these are my opinions. You may agree with me, you may not, and that's 100% okay. So look, why don't you go do your part and go over to the Ark page and vote for the dino that you would like to see. Have a further read on the information that's there, and include your own input if you wish to have more say. And it's the dino that gets the most community votes will have the higher chance of being added to the game. Look, that's all for me, guys. Thanks for taking the time to listen to me ramble on about some dinos, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. Panda out. Cheers.